Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I work behind the scenes at races. My boss runs a small company that handles timing for running events, cycling races, and triathlons. It's niche work, but we're good at it. Last spring, we were wrapping up a big cycling event in the city. The race had gone off without a hitch, and we were packing up our gear when my boss realized something was wrong. 4 of our timing boxes were missing. These weren't just any boxes. They're specialized equipment that only a couple hundred people in the entire country use. Each unit costs around $1,000, so we were looking at $4,000 worth of missing gear. We tore the venue apart looking for them, but they were gone. My boss filed a police report right away. He gave them serial numbers, photos, everything. The cops were sympathetic but realistic. Small electronics disappear all the time, they said. Unless someone tried to sell them, we'd probably never see them again. About a month went by. We'd written off the loss and started the process of ordering replacements. Then my boss came into the office with this look on his face, half amused, half furious. He told me I wouldn't believe what he'd just found. He turned his laptop around to show me an eBay listing. There they were, all 4 of our timing boxes, listed for sale by some guy 3 states over. The price was reasonable enough that someone might actually buy them without asking too many questions. I asked him if he was sure it was our stuff. He told me to look at picture number 3. I clicked through the photos. The first 2 showed the boxes from different angles, the standard listing stuff, but the third photo showed a close-up of one box, and right there on the side was a printed label. It had our company name, my boss's name, and even his phone number. My boss pointed out that the seller didn't even try to remove the label. We both just stared at the screen for a minute. The sheer stupidity of it was almost impressive. My boss sent a message through eBay's system. He kept it simple and professional. He explained that the equipment was stolen from his company at a race, that he had serial numbers and police reports to prove it, and asked the seller to return it. The seller's response came back fast. He said there was no way my boss could prove this was his equipment. My boss replied with a screenshot of photo number 3, with his own label circled in red. He pointed out that his name was literally on the box. The seller doubled down. He claimed he bought this at a mail auction and that it was his legally. My boss responded by noting it was quite a coincidence that the mail auction happened in the same town where his equipment was stolen. The seller stopped responding after that, so my boss escalated to eBay directly. He filed a formal complaint, attached all his documentation, and waited for them to pull the listing. eBay's response was baffling. They reviewed the case and decided there wasn't enough evidence to remove the listing. The seller had claimed he purchased the items legitimately at an auction for lost mail, and eBay said my boss couldn't prove otherwise. Never mind that the seller was in the same city where the theft occurred. Never mind the label with my boss's information on it. eBay sided with the seller. My boss was livid. He spent 2 days going back and forth with eBay's customer service, but they wouldn't budge. The listing stayed up. That's when he came up with a plan. My boss announced he was going to buy it. I asked him what he meant. He explained he was going to buy his own stolen equipment back. He laid out the whole thing. He'd use my account to make the purchase so the seller wouldn't recognize the name. He'd ask for shipping through the postal service instead of a private courier, and then he'd make one very important phone call. It took me a second to understand what he was getting at, then it clicked. I said the postal inspectors. My boss confirmed it. He explained that trafficking stolen goods through the mail is a federal crime. I made the purchase that afternoon. 4 timing boxes, shipped via the postal service to my address. My boss wanted them sent to another state for good measure, so I gave them my apartment address 2 states over. The seller accepted immediately and marked the item as shipped the next day. While we waited for the package to arrive, my boss gathered everything he needed. Police reports from the original theft, photos of the equipment with serial numbers, screenshots of his entire conversation with the seller where he explicitly told him the items were stolen, receipts proving he'd purchased his own property back. He had it all organized in a folder. The package arrived at my place on a Tuesday. I sent my boss a photo of the boxes still in the shipping container. He made the call. The Postal Inspection Service takes mail fraud seriously. Very seriously. My boss walked them through everything. He had proof the equipment was stolen. He had proof the seller knew it was stolen because my boss had told him directly. And he had proof the seller had shipped stolen property across state lines using the postal service. 2 days later, my boss got a call from a postal inspector. They'd paid the seller a visit. When they searched his property, they found more than just our timing equipment. There were boxes of stuff, electronics, sporting goods, tools. All of it apparently stolen from various places. The seller was arrested and charged with nearly a dozen federal felonies: theft, trafficking stolen goods across state lines, lying to federal agents during the investigation. Each charge carried serious prison time. My boss wasn't done yet. He filed a complaint with eBay explaining that he'd been sold stolen goods. He attached the police reports, the federal charges, everything. This time, eBay didn't argue. They refunded his purchase price immediately. So in the end, my boss got his equipment back. He got his money back minus shipping costs. And the guy who stole from us was facing enough federal charges to put him away for years. My boss kept the eBay receipt framed in his office. Underneath it, he put a little plaque that read about how sometimes the best revenge is just following the rules. I needed to pick up a birthday gift for my mom, so I headed to the mall one Saturday afternoon. When I walked through the entrance, I realized I should probably use the bathroom before starting my shopping. I made my way to the women's restroom and took care of business. After washing my hands, I was about to leave when an older woman in a wheelchair rolled inside. She looked like she was in her 50s. Our eyes met, and I could see she was struggling a bit. I asked if she needed any help. She said that would be wonderful and asked if I could help her into one of the stalls. I told her, of course, no problem at all. I carefully helped her out of the wheelchair and steadied her when she made her way into the stall. Then I moved her wheelchair to the end of the bathroom so it wouldn't block anyone's path. I wasn't sure what to do next. Should I wait around to help her when she finished, or would that be weird? I decided to stand near the exit where I could still hear if she called for help. A couple minutes passed. Then I saw a young boy, maybe 10 years old, start walking toward the women's restroom entrance. I told him the men's room was over there. He said his mom told him he could use this one because it's cleaner. He shot me a nasty look when he said it. I almost argued with him but decided it wasn't worth getting into it with some random kid. I just shrugged and let him go inside. A few more minutes went by. I peeked my head into the bathroom to check if the woman needed assistance yet. That's when I saw the boy staring at her wheelchair. Before I could say anything, he grabbed the handles and started pushing it toward the exit. I told him to hold on and asked what he thought he was doing. He said he found this cool wheelchair and wanted to play with it for a bit. I explained that it wasn't his and that it belonged to a lady who was in the restroom right now. I told him he couldn't just take other people's things. He told me to mind my own business and called me an old cow. I was completely shocked. First of all, I'm only 26 and people usually tell me I look way younger. Second, what kind of kid talks to an adult like that? I said excuse me and told him that was very rude. I said he needed to put the wheelchair back where he found it, or I was calling security to report him for trying to steal from a disabled person. The kid glared at me with pure hatred in his eyes. Then he hauled off and punched me in the leg before running away. It didn't really hurt, but I was stunned that he'd actually hit me. I shook my head and wheeled the chair back into the bathroom. When I entered, I heard the woman's voice from inside the stall. She asked if someone was there and if they could help her. I told her yes, I was here and I'd be happy to help. I assisted her out of the stall and back into her wheelchair. While she washed her hands, we made some small talk. She thanked me so much for my help and said she really appreciated my kindness. I told her it was no problem at all and that I was glad I could assist. We headed out of the restroom together, still chatting. That's when I saw a woman storming toward us with a boy from earlier, pointing right at me. Before I could process what was happening, this woman shoved me hard in the chest. She screamed at me, asking how I dared to tell her son what to do and who I thought I was. She was yelling directly in my face. The woman in the wheelchair looked totally confused. I tried to explain what had happened. I told her that her son was trying to take this lady's wheelchair while she was using the restroom. I simply told him that wasn't okay. She asked, so, what if he wants to take the stupid wheelchair for a spin? She said the woman wasn't using it anyway. Then she threatened that if she caught me near her angel again, she'd knock my teeth out. How could this woman think it was okay for her kid to steal someone's wheelchair? The woman in the wheelchair spoke up then. She said, "Excuse me, but no one has the right to take her wheelchair, even if she's not in it at the moment." She also asked why the boy was in the women's restroom anyway and said the mother should teach him better manners. That's when the angry mom completely lost it. She told the woman not to dare try to tell her how to parent and called her a disabled bitch. Then she said the woman should get out of that wheelchair so her boy could have a turn. To my absolute horror, she actually grabbed the woman in the wheelchair and tried to yank her out of it. I tried to stop her, pushing her away, but she shoved me so hard I fell to the ground. Then she yanked the poor woman out of her chair and took off running with it, her son sprinting right behind her. There we were, both on the floor, in total shock at what had just happened. The woman pulled out her phone and made a call. She said, "Hey, Matt," and told him to listen. She explained that she'd been assaulted by a woman and her son in the hallway by the bathrooms. She said the woman pulled her out of her wheelchair and took off with it. She asked if he could please do something. She confirmed it was just now. She told him thanks, honey, she was okay, and not to worry. She asked him to just try to catch the woman before she left the mall with her chair. She thanked him. A few minutes later, security showed up. They brought us chairs to sit in while we calmed down and caught our breath. About 15 minutes after that, the police arrived along with a man in his early 30s who was pushing the stolen wheelchair. He asked his mom if she was all right and if she was hurt. She told him she was fine and not to worry. He helped her back into her wheelchair. The police started taking our statements. I told them everything that had happened from start to finish, and the woman did the same. Her son filled us in on what happened after his mom called. He explained that after his mom called, he found a security guard and had him radio the others to look for a woman and child with an empty wheelchair heading for the exits. He said they caught her trying to leave and held her until the police arrived. He told us they arrested her, and her kid threw a huge fit and even attacked some of the officers. He turned to me and thanked me so much for standing up for his mom and trying to help her. He said they really appreciated it. The woman took my hands in hers and thanked me from the bottom of her heart. She said I was such a kind person. She told me she'd love to have me over for dinner sometime as a thank you and asked if she could get my name and number. I said, "Oh, sure, that was very nice of her." I gave her my information. After all that drama, I didn't feel up to gift shopping anymore. Her son offered to drive me home, which I gratefully accepted. He mentioned he worked as a federal agent, which explained how quickly he'd coordinated everything with security. A week later, I got a call inviting me to dinner. I went and we had a lovely meal together. I asked what happened with the entitled mom. She told me they were pressing charges against her. She said the woman was in quite a bit of trouble, and Child Protective Services got involved regarding her son. Her son thanked me again for helping his mom. It was a really nice evening, and he drove me home afterwards. I was just trying to get my groceries done when everything started going sideways. For context, this whole mess began a few weeks before this shopping trip. The virus situation had gotten serious enough that our local supermarket started posting security guards at the entrance. Their job was to control how many people came in at once and make sure nobody who looked sick got inside. Tensions were already running high in town. People were nervous, suspicious, and the shelves were getting emptier by the day. I've been avoiding the supermarket as much as possible, but I was completely out of basics. My cat was down to her last few treats, and I needed bread, vegetables, and a few other essentials. I figured if I went early enough, maybe I could avoid the worst of the crowds and the paranoia that seemed to be spreading faster than the virus itself. The moment I walked into the bread aisle, I noticed her. This woman was standing there with her cart, and something about her body language screamed danger. She looked like she was ready to throw punches at anyone who dared come within 6 feet of her. I tried to keep my distance, but the bread I needed was on the top shelf at the very back. I had to stretch up on my toes to reach it, and while I was doing that, my basket might have grazed her shopping cart for maybe a second. She whipped around and looked at me like I just spit in her face. She told me to watch what I was doing and called me a filthy brat. Then she walked off before I could even respond. I just stood there holding my bread, a bit stunned. But honestly, I was getting used to this kind of treatment. Since the virus started spreading, anyone under 60 in my area, which was pretty much the minority, got treated like walking biohazards. The older folks acted like we were all out to infect them on purpose. I shook it off and continued shopping. I grabbed a few more items and headed to the vegetable aisle. And there she was again. She was touching absolutely everything, running her hands over the produce, picking things up and putting them back, totally ignoring basic hygiene. A couple of other customers said something to her when they passed, but she ignored them completely. I needed onions and potatoes, which were both stored in these big cardboard boxes on the lower shelves. I had to crouch down to reach inside them. I was surrounded by brown cardboard, completely focused on getting what I needed, when suddenly I felt her cart ram into my side. She'd literally hit me with her shopping cart like I was some kind of obstacle she could just shove out of the way. I'm at least 20 centimeters taller than her and probably outweigh her by 15 kilograms. The first bump was annoying. The second one was hard enough to actually hurt. I stood up and turned to face her. I asked her if she could watch out where she was pushing her cart and reminded her that she wasn't the only one shopping there. I told her to look at her surroundings and push the cart around things that were in her way instead of just ramming into them. She said it was my fault for jumping in her way. She asked why she should watch where she was going when I was young with 2 eyes and healthy legs. She said I should have moved to the side, but my generation was generally full of foolish people like me. I just shook my head. I didn't want to engage anymore. I started to walk away when she deliberately pushed her cart into me again. This time another customer saw the whole thing and went to get an employee. The employee arrived just in time to witness the last bump. The employee told her she couldn't run over other customers and asked her to watch out and stop bumping into people. The woman said I had jumped in her way. The employee said that another customer had seen me reaching into the cardboard for onions and potatoes when she came and bumped into me. And this time he'd personally witnessed her talking to me and pushing the cart into me on purpose. She huffed and walked off again. I thanked the employee and tried to finish my shopping as quickly as possible, but the universe wasn't done with me yet. At the cooling section, there she was again, loading entire boxes of cheese into her cart. I walked over and picked up a single package from the cooler next to her. It wasn't from her cart. It wasn't even within her reach. It was a completely different brand from what she had. She called me a brat again and said the cheese was hers. She accused me of stealing it and demanded I give it back. I told her I didn't steal anything and pointed out that it was a different brand from the 3 boxes she had in her cart. I showed her that I'd taken it from the box in the cooler. I walked away while she shouted something about wanting the same cheese too. I was beyond exhausted at this point, and I hadn't even paid yet. I headed to the pet food section, relieved to be almost done. The same employee from before was there. I smiled at him and grabbed some cat treats and a new toy. He approached me with a friendly expression. He asked if I had a cat. I told him I did. He said he could ask me something because he was getting one on Monday. I nodded, happy to help. He started to ask me about food and litter and which ones I would recommend when the woman came running up, interrupting us, her face bright red with fury. She demanded to know where the toilet paper was. The employee apologized and said they were out of toilet paper and paper towels. He explained that the truck was stuck at the border, so it might take another week for another delivery. She insisted they had some in stock and said she needed it now, just a few packages. He repeated that they were out and that most markets in the area were out of it too. He suggested she could try getting some from the cities, from the internet, or wait for the truck. He turned back to me and we continued talking about cats. She interrupted us again and asked if this filthy, arrogant brat was worth more than a paying customer like her. She demanded he get her toilet paper right now. She was waving her hands around and snapping her fingers like she was being attacked by a swarm of bees. I had no idea what she meant by calling herself a paying customer. Wasn't I also a paying customer? Wasn't she technically a non-paying customer too, until she actually went through checkout? The employee said again that they were out and didn't have any in stock. He said no one had said anything about the worth of customers and pointed out that she was the one interrupting. He said he'd cared for her first, so she shouldn't make conclusions about this. He told her to leave before he got security. He'd raised his voice just enough that one of the security guards near the entrance looked our way. The woman saw this and walked off once again. I shared everything I knew about cats with the employee and then headed to the registers. Register 1 was closing and Register 2 was opening. I was the first person in line at Register 2. I had most of my items already on the belt when the woman appeared. I should have known she wasn't done with me yet. She started packing her stuff directly behind mine, leaving maybe 1 or 2 centimeters of space. The divider wouldn't even fit, so I pushed my things forward a bit to make room. She told me not to dare touch her stuff and to keep my filthy hands to myself. She said I'd even taken her place at the register when she was in front of me at the other register. I had never even stood at the other register. And everyone knows that when a new register opens, whoever gets there first is served first. Your position at another register doesn't matter. She screamed like I'd physically hurt her. Then she actually grabbed my arm and tried to drag me behind her. I absolutely hate being touched without permission, so I slapped her hand away. Maybe harder than necessary. She yelled that I'd attacked her. The cashier, who happened to be the same employee from before, saw everything and was about to intervene, but I waved him off and shook my head. I was so completely done with this day. He scanned my items, and when it was time to pay, I reached for my wallet. Because of the ridiculously small pockets in my jeans, the tissue package I always carry fell out. She screamed that I had the virus and demanded they get me out. She said I touched her and that she needed to be compensated because she'd had so much contact with this filthy brat the whole time. She demanded a discount. She rammed her cart into me again. The second time she tried, I grabbed it and pulled hard. She almost fell over. Well, she got what she deserved there. I picked up my tissue package and held onto her cart to stop her from hitting me again, which she was definitely trying to do. Just when I was about to tell her exactly what I thought of her, a security guard showed up. I thought I was in trouble, but the guard asked the woman to leave the supermarket. Of course, she resisted and started screaming about how I'd harassed her and attacked her. I explained what she meant by all this supposed contact, and the employee offered to pull up the security footage showing her attacking me with the cart multiple times. The security guard asked if I was okay and said that it looked like it hurt. I told him it did hurt a little and would probably bruise. And it did bruise. Thanks for that, lady. In the end, she didn't get to buy anything. She received a ban from the store and was escorted to her car without her shopping cart because she caused such a massive scene and had verbally and physically attacked another customer. And I think I might have made a new friend in that employee. We're planning to meet on Monday when he picks up his new cat. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.